Find the idea. Qf7 plus works only if one defender is overloaded. What would you play? Now rewind. Mikhail Tal has white against Vladimir Saigin in Riga M. The point is not to memorize moves. In this episode, track the quiet mystery. The natural answer, the piece with too many jobs, and the square that proves the tactic was prepared. If a move does not change one of those things, we move quickly. If it does, we stop and turn it into a question you can use at the board. First quiet clue. This move earns its screen time by changing the open file before the forcing line appears. This is the first real clue. Now for exd4 is the next pressure test after 2. And c6. Second exchange, not just points. One guard leaves, and the bishop route around move 4 becomes easier to see. The previous checkpoint, 2. And c6. Changed the defender map before 4. exd4. 4. exd4 sets up the next question at 6. And xd4. Pause here, what square became harder to defend after 4? xd4? Third trade with a price tag. If the defender recaptures or ignores it, ask where the king can still breathe. The board is already drifting from 6. nxd4 toward 15. bb2. The board gets less comfortable for the defender. The overload is becoming harder to ignore after this move. Look back one checkpoint. 6. nxd4 made the position fragile enough for 15. bb2. Fifth initiative in plain sight. The motive detail matters because the forced reply still needs an answer. That is why 25. Rex 8 plus is not just notation. It is a new problem created by 24. Re 8 plus. Sixth collapse warning. The check forces a reply while the pawn shield stays weak. A quiet detail from 24. Re 8 plus is still hanging in the air when 25. Rex 8 plus arrives. Seventh timing question. If the defender spends this move on survival, which square became a highway? 26. qa1 plus sets up the next question at 28. qd3 plus. Eighth check with a purpose. The king answers first, so the trade choice can decide the next move. After qd3 plus, can the king and defender both stay useful? The board is already drifting from 28. qd3 plus toward 31. hxg6 plus. Ninth forcing checkpoint. Counterplay pauses while we inspect the entry point. Which defender cannot cover both threats? The previous checkpoint, 28. qd3 plus. Changed the defender map before 31. hxg6 plus. This is the bridge to 32. qf8 plus, where the defender has fewer choices. 10th tempo hit. A quiet defense would be nice, but this check makes the rook lift urgent. What does qf8 plus reveal about the king's real cover? That is why 32. kxg6 is not just notation. It is a new problem created by 32. qf8 plus. 11th trade with a price tag. If the defender recaptures or ignores it, ask which square is no longer free. Now 33. Re6 plus is the next pressure test after 32. kxg6. Pause here, what line opened because 32. kxg6 forced the issue? 12th initiative in plain sight. The reveal detail matters because the shrinking route still needs an answer. 33. Re6 plus sets up the next question at 33. f6. A small improvement can be a big warning. If the opponent treats the rook entry as harmless, the next forcing move lands harder. A quiet detail from 33. Re6 plus is still hanging in the air when 33. f6 arrives. 14th timing question. If the defender spends this move on survival, which diagonal lost protection? This is the bridge to 34. kh5, where the defender has fewer choices. 15th quiet clue. This move earns its screen time by changing the back rank room before the forcing line appears. 34. qg8 plus is the clue that makes 34. kh5 less random. That is why 35. qf7 plus is not just notation. It is a new problem created by 34. kh5. 16th forcing checkpoint. Counterplay pauses while we inspect the overload. which piece has two jobs. The previous checkpoint, 34, kh5, changed the defender map before 35, qf7+. Now 35, kg5 is the next pressure test after 35, qf7+. Pause here. Did 35, qf7+ change material, tempo, or access first? No fireworks yet, but the trap is getting organized around move 35. Watch the tempo race. Who has to answer first? 35, kg5 sets up the next question at 36, qg7+. 18th king safety audit. If the reply damages the pawn shield, the next tactic gets easier. Look back one checkpoint, 35, kg5 made the position fragile enough for 36, qg7+. The board is already drifting from 36, qg7+, toward 36, kh5. This is how initiative grows before the punchline. The move does not win immediately, but it changes the central square. This is the bridge to 37, qf7+, where the defender has fewer choices. 20th collapse warning. The check forces a reply while the trade choice stays weak. A quiet detail from 36, kh5 is still hanging in the air when 37, qf7+ arrives. Pause here. What square became harder to defend after 37, qf7+? The threat is still partly hidden. That is why this move is dangerous. It improves the queen access before the tactic announces itself. That is the proof behind the finish. The lesson from Tal-Saigin's hidden queen trap is concrete. The final tactic works because the earlier moves changed the defender map. In the My Chess Coach lesson, replay the quiet mystery positions, solve the puzzles, and name the clue before the payoff. The candidate move, the overloaded piece, or the square that changed. Then run the same checklist in your own game before you grab material or defend automatically. That turns this finish into a pattern you can recognize in real positions, not just a highlight you admire once.